This is We Are Netflix, Netflix employees talking about work and life at Netflix.
I'm Lyle Troxell, and on this episode of We Are Netflix, we've got something special.
You will never be fully successful in the long run unless the people here reflect the people you serve.
Woo! Recently, Netflix invited best-selling author Brené Brown to our Los Angeles office to discuss her research on courage, vulnerability, diversity, and inclusion in the workplace. Brené talked with Vernee Myers, head of diversity and inclusion at Netflix, in front of a live audience of Netflix employees.
Hi, I'm Vernee Myers, the VP of Inclusion Strategy for Netflix, as you know, and it is my great pleasure to introduce someone who really does not need an introduction. I'm sure almost all of you have seen, like 38 million people have seen her Power of Vulnerability TED Talk, yes? Woo! I think most of you also know that she's an academic and that she is a professor at the University of Houston, where she holds the Huffington Foundation Brené Brown Endowed Chair of the Graduate College of Social Work. So that's an incredible thing. And mostly we know that Brené has made it safe to talk about all sorts of fabulous things like shame and vulnerability. Brené Brown.
Okay. Hey.
How are you? I'm great. Have you seen your big, lovely face here?
Yes, driving down Wilshire Boulevard, I was like,
Oh.
holy shit.
Oh.
Like, that's a big face.
All right. So, like, what are the feelings when you see that?
Excitement, fear, disbelief.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not in that order, but yeah. Fear, disbelief.
No, I mean, I think what is so exciting and interesting about your work is that you've been able to help us understand that we can have a lot of seemingly competing emotions at the same time. So tell us a little bit about like how you got to understanding the relationship between vulnerability and courage. Because most people think of those things as being somewhat separate.
I definitely grew up thinking they were separate. I grew up, Texan, you're either brave or you're afraid, pick. And so I just kind of grew up with the idea I must be a very fearful person because I'm afraid a lot. And I think as a kid growing up, kind of always feeling on the outside, I became a really powerful pattern finder. It was kind of a way of moving through the world somewhat safely. Like I could see, oh, this emotion is connected with this way of thinking. If people are behaving this way, they're feeling this way. So I became a really good pattern finder. And so that just kind of led in a very circuitous, like 12-year degree plan way, to becoming a researcher and a qualitative researcher. And I think when I started doing the research, it was all about shame. And I really wanted to understand shame. And that came back to a moment when I was in college. I worked in residential treatment with adolescents. And we had this really difficult week. And I don't talk about this story really very often, so it's interesting. We had a very difficult week where one young girl tried to commit suicide, another girl tried to run away. And if you're working in a treatment facility, residential treatment facility, these are kids who parental rights have been severed. They're growing up in treatment. And I was getting my degree in social work at the time and working part-time at this place. It was in the Hill Country in Texas, just beautiful, run by these kind of amazing, forward-thinking clinicians. And so in treatment, when someone tries to run away, the whole place goes on lockdown. You take shoestrings out of everyone's tennis shoes so that their shoes fall off if they try to run. It's like a thing where, because it's contagious, that kind of behavior. One person goes, then more kids get the idea. And so we had this like weird emergency meeting, and the clinician, the therapist who ran the clinical part, came up and said, "I know you care about these kids. I know you're kind of scared right now because of what's going on in the program, but you cannot shame or belittle people into changing their behaviors. And he kept talking, but I didn't hear anything after that. And I actually made an appointment to follow up with him 2 days later and said, do you remember in that meeting when you said you can't shame or belittle people into changing? Are you sure about that? And he's like, I am sure about that. And I said, but that's the way the world works. Like the way like parenting works. That's the way magazine articles work. That's the way commercials work.
Yeah,
like,
for real.
yeah, I'm like, are you sure? And he goes, not if you're looking for lasting, meaningful change. And so I kind of held on to that conversation through my master's and my PhD, and then decided to study shame. Studied shame, got to the end of that, and I thought I was going to do it for 6 months, and it took 6 years. I'm bad at time estimation. Really bad at it. And then when I was done with that study and had a real handle on shame, I said, oh my God, I've got all this data about shame, but inside this data is also the answers to the question about wholeheartedness. So I started asking the question, okay, I understand what shame is, but who are these weirdos that think they're enough? Like, who are these people?
Imagine that.
Like, yeah, like where did they come from and what do they have in common? And then it was the moment of devastation where like year 7, I realized what they had in common was the capacity and willingness to be vulnerable, which was super devastating. I thought the answer was going to be wholehearted people have PhDs in shame. I thought that would be the answer. Like I wanted it to be heady and intellectual.
Yeah.
I didn't think the answer would be like they like themselves and they're vulnerable.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of bullshit is that?
Well, it's interesting because the work that we do in inclusion and diversity, it's really hard because lots of people feel like outsiders, like you did, right? So I almost want to ask you exactly like where that came from. So I'll come back to that. But one of the things that we have learned, you know, I've learned for doing this for 20 plus years is what you discovered about shame, which is that blame and shame does not change people's behavior. Doesn't keep us from doing it, however, especially in the diversity space. Because even when people are trying to be vulnerable, opening up themselves, there's a deep amount of risk involved in being not the good, perfect, right, person. And then you take the risk and then you kind of blow it. Yeah. And then there's a lot of shame that goes with it. And so instead of people sort of evolving their behavior, they pull back. When they pull back, they don't have access to the information they need in order to show up differently, right? And so I think this outsider thing, and quite frankly, you know, some of the people on the outside have been hurt so much, you know, they've been made to feel outside for so much they don't seem to have the capacity to extend that kind of open-heartedness. So I just wanted to know what's your journey through this feeling an outsider, right? And then how do we deal with trying to be more vulnerable when we know that taking risks sometimes is not rewarded?
So you said something that was, I think, the key to the whole thing, which is you want to have the difficult conversation, right? And then you put yourself out there and you blow it and you make a mistake and then you re-armor up and say, screw that, I'll never try that again,
exactly.
Right? So if we could like slow it down and say, okay, you make the decision to put yourself out there and lean into the hard conversation about gender, about race, about whatever you're talking about. But here's the difference. This is the fork in the road. I'm leaning in to have the conversation, not to be right, but to get it right. So the shame comes when you lean into the conversation in order to be right. And then your bias is handed back to you and you are wrong. But that's not the why that should drive the conversation.
Yeah.
The why needs to be, I'm not leaning in to be right. My goal in this conversation is to learn more and get it right. Then, as long as you stay curious and open and leave your armor off, you can't screw it up. But so many, I mean, like, I have literally taught race, class, and gender
Yes.
for PhD and master students for 22 years. I have never had this conversation, a single conversation about race, class, identity, it doesn't matter, and not had my ass handed to me. I have never not in a chair with DeRay McKesson,
Yes.
and it's live streamed to tens of thousands of people. Who anybody watch that? The squirming of my privilege that washed over me in this thing where he said, "What about this, Brene?" And I'm like, like the oh shit white face, like.
Never crossed my mind.
No, it didn't cross my mind because it's not a part of my survival every day
Yes.
for it to cross my mind. And so, yeah, it's not, and so, but I don't lean into those the problem is, and this is, I'm just going to say like what my experience is. People lean into them, especially the whiter, straighter, Christian, they lean in to show ally of the month.
Right.
Right, as opposed to, I'm trying, I don't know everything, I'm never going to stop learning.
Right.
So
Right.
the shame comes for the intention, and let me tell you, these are stealth intentions.
Oh, for sure.
These are not in our awareness that my intention is to be right and show how great and progressive I am. These are buried way deep in, we didn't even know we needed that.
It's also, I think, and it can be in any group where you're in the up group,
Yeah.
is that you actually believe in your superiority and you don't even know it. And so what you're trying to do is prove that, in fact, you are superior. And even though you really don't know anything about this group, you're sure you do, And
Oh
so
my
I
God.
love when people are like, no, right? I love when
like,
people are like, cool points. They're like, yeah, so, I went to that movie and, no, this is my favorite. I've been to an Indian wedding. Do you know Indians have great, and you're like, that's it. That's all you got. You don't know anything else about the whole culture.
Yes.
You're just going to get a cool point for having gone to an Indian
And had
wedding.
tikka masala. Yeah,
Yeah,
like you're
exactly.
Like, you win. Like,
Yeah, it's like,
oh
what
my
are you trying
God.
to prove,
That
right?
is, like, we're recording this, right?
Yeah.
That's good. You should write that down and send it because it is almost like I want to be better
I wanna
at
be better.
blackness than you are.
Yeah.
Like, because I'm white and I know everything.
I do. And I don't even know that I think that. And so that's
And I
where
don't know I think it.
I know, that's the word. But on the vulnerability piece, right, or the courage piece, let's go with the courage piece for a second because one of the things that people think, like what you already said, which is like there's no courage, there's no fear when there's courage, where you know for sure
Yes.
that there is. But how does vulnerability serve us when it comes to courage, right? So how do you get from making yourself like at risk to actually showing up courageous? Because it seems like you're just exposing your weakness. So help us think about that.
Yeah, so I actually think vulnerability is the prerequisite for courage because I cannot think of, nor have I ever been able to have thousands of people that we've asked. Like, and let's not do it rhetorically. Like, let's do it in this audience. Give me an example. I mean, the definition of vulnerability, just from the data, is uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure. So to feel vulnerable is to feel uncertain, at risk, and emotional exposure is people may see emotions on me that I don't want them to see, and I can't control how
anything
they
about
perceive
it.
them.
Yeah.
Right. So give me, anybody in here, give me an example of courage in your own life or in anyone's life that you know that did not require uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure. Like one example.
Right.
Like we can't come up with it because there is no courage without risk, uncertainty, and exposure.
But I think we have mislabeled what courage is. Right? So I think,
for
right?
sure.
Right. So once you throw out the definition, I'm a recovering attorney, so I appreciate definitions.
My spidey senses were like, lawyer.
Right? But once you get to that definition of vulnerability,
Yeah.
what we discover is the stuff we thought was courageous wasn't really that courageous
If you're
because
not
it
scared, it's
wasn't that
not
much
brave.
risk. It wasn't that, right? So people are like, oh, that was so courageous. Well, if you're not feeling like, you know, then it probably wasn't courage that you were showing.
I mean, no, because someone asked me the other day, do you think Netflix was a good idea? Like, and I was like, I'm scared shitless, so I think so, because everything I've ever done that's been valuable has been really scary. Like, how do you know if you've given a good talk? Because I'm slightly nauseous for a day or so afterwards.
Yeah.
Like, so if you don't feel afraid,
Right.
then what you're doing is not that brave.
Right, or if there isn't a cost to it,
Right.
or if you can control the outcome, that's not really courage.
It's really not courage. And we've confused it, especially in this political climate, with blustery, kind of bullshit, hot air posturing. You know, and
That's right. This thing we think is courage.
That is, yeah. Like for me, it's like, what is that movie where like I see dead people?
Fifth sense.
Yeah, it's like
Sixth
that.
sense?
Yeah, it's like that because because of my research. Like I see scared people. You know what I mean? Like no, I do. I see how fear shows up in people. I know when I see the posturing and the puffing up. Like normally, what I say is, you know, I usually flags go up for me because I think people are really dangerous when they're in fear.
Yeah.
And so it's like that's a person who's scared right now. So be thoughtful.
Yeah.
You know, be thoughtful because they will crush anything in their way to feel less scared. And so that's like right now when people, one of the things that triggers fear in other people a lot, that's like a really, when you talk about diversity, equity, inclusivity, one of the big barriers I think we face is nostalgia. You know, like, well, things used to be like this. And so
Yeah.
the thing that they're not saying is the way things used to be, and then the silent trailer is when people knew their place. The way things used to be when everyone knew their place.
Yeah.
You know, and so
When my group was up. And see, because I think people I see the fear too, and there's a way where it's hard for me to respect because I'm like, you're pretending to be courageous, but really you're smelling of fear. So I appreciate what you're saying, which is you need to be thoughtful and careful, but I sometimes think, you're just not fooling anybody. But I also see a different motive and a different way of operating, which is that people use their power to intimidate other people.
Yeah.
Right? But if you go under that, why are they using their power that way? And under that is the fear.
it's power over is a very, like one of the 16 predictable forms of armor.
See, that's what I really appreciate about you. That you got 16 of this and 4 of that, and 1 million people interviewed. No, seriously, because you know I'm writing a book, and I was reading your book, the new one on Dare to Lead.
Yeah.
And I was like, dang, she got all this research. She's a professor. I want to be a professor. Don't I say that, Christine? I was like, I wish I were a professor. I would just dig into the research. I love you. You're like 600 people. Like,
No, but like, how many people do you think you've had hard conversations with?
a lot.
And that's not data? That's data.
It's true. That's what Christine always says.
Yeah, that's data. Like, it's like, yeah, it's data.
like, you
It's
have
like,
data?
I just have data and $125,000 of school loans. Like, I don't think I don't know that that's the upside, really and truly. Like,
That's true.
yeah,
Well, I want you to speak to our folks because we've got, do you know about our culture memo?
I do.
Okay. All right. So, you know, courage is in our memo. You all know that, right? Okay. And when we sort of try to delineate what that means for our culture, we say things like, you know, you are willing to take risks. You are willing to walk risk into truth. Basically, that's what it says, right? And you're like, it impressed me as well. However, we are also a high performance culture.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I have noticed is like the belief in perfection or the desire for perfection is also an impediment to courage. Because And this is sort of perfection, right, is the other side of vulnerability,
It's
right?
armor, yeah.
It's armor. So we say we're farming for dissent, and some of us do. We say we want to take risks because we want to get to the truth and we want to innovate and so forth. But we're also trying to look like stunning colleagues. And in our mind, many people translate stunning as perfect.
For sure.
Talk to us. Help us.
Oh my God.
Help us.
Researcher, heal thyself. It's I can give you all the data, but I can just tell you as a perfectionist and someone that really deals with trying to be a recovering perfectionist, it's really hard because perfectionism, I think in the next couple of years, we'll actually see perfectionism in the DSM as a process addiction.
Wow.
Yeah, because it really feeds on itself because perfectionism, so if you just look at the data, like let's just pull ourselves personally out of it and just look at the data. As researchers, what we see is that kind of the opposite of perfectionism is healthy striving or striving for excellence. So we see those as opposite sides. People that are really good at striving for excellence or healthy strivers are normally not perfectionistic. People who are perfectionistic normally are not great at striving for excellence. And so what happens for us, for those of us who really struggle
Do you
with
want to break that down?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yes. So it's about locus of control. Healthy striving is internally focused. Who do I want to be? What do I want to accomplish for me? Perfectionism is driven by one thought. What will people think? So it's
I think you might want to repeat that.
Yes. Okay. So healthy striving or striving for excellence is about what we want to accomplish. Perfectionism is what will people think. Part of perfectionism is the fool's errand of managing perception. So the thing about, if you think about perfectionism, I call it the 20-ton shield. We carry it around thinking, if I look perfect, work perfect, act perfect, and do it perfectly, I can avoid or minimize shame, judgment, and blame. So we use it to protect ourselves. The problem is, anybody in here, who in here would say they're perfectionistic or struggle with perfectionism? Like, I know where we are, so hands up. Okay. So I've seen the perfect trailer and the perfect art. Like, and FYI, grateful for it. But, so for those of us who struggle with perfectionism, anyone in here avoid shame, criticism, and blame successfully your whole life thus far? Like, no, right. It doesn't work. But what the 20-ton shield does do is it keeps us from being seen. And it's exhausting and heavy, and we carry it around. But here's the real process addiction piece. When, as a perfectionist, I find myself in the grips of shame or judgment or blame, my self-talk is not, wow, this perfection thing is just BS, it doesn't work. My self-talk is, I wasn't quite perfect enough. Let me double down. And so that just becomes this unwinnable thing. And so what I think is for high performance organizations, and I work inside them a lot, like here's my conundrum right now. I obsess on the brand that is Brene Brown Education and Research Group. Like I approve every font, every caption on social, any outwardly facing thing. Is it perfectionistic? I used to think so until like I read Phil Knight's book around Nike and kind of this whole, like when you go into these companies that do well, they obsess on the brand. I'm sure y'all obsess on the brand. I know you do because we were going to edit some of our own photos and they're like, not if it has the Netflix logo on it. You're not going to be doing that. Yeah, like I was like, but we can do, that's nice. I'm glad you can, but not if it has the Netflix logo on it. So how do you obsess over the brand and want to get it right and be excellent and not struggle, and so I have a lot of people that are just like me that work with me and we really struggle. And so the line, I think, is, and this is what I think the line is, I was fueling my team's worst perfectionism until the day I sat down and said, let me explain to you why the font matters. Let me explain to you why the social captions need to go this way. Let me explain to you why inclusivity in stock photos is mandatory here. Then all of a sudden they have the why. And it's and because the why for perfectionists, myself included, is always it has to be perfect.
For someone else.
Yes,
Yeah.
it has to be perfect. But I never took the time as a leader, and a lot of these people have worked for me 5 or 6 years until like this year to say, let me take you through the 5 C's that I use to look at every single thing that comes out of what we do. Context, color, connective tissue, cost, consequence. Let me teach you why the font matters. Let me tell you why representation and stock image matters. And now all of a sudden, it's not like, oh my God, are we ready to put it in front of Brene?
Right.
Is it perfect yet? And they're like,
Because they're not trying to please you.
No.
They're trying to fulfill the standard
the
that you've set.
standard. Does
Yeah.
that make sense? And so a lot of times, the perfectionism gets worse sometimes as we go down because leaders are not doing a good job
Communicating.
We don't take the time, and we separate people and what they're producing from the mission and the why. Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you for that. You know, I'm also thinking about this issue of trying to do it perfectly and how it visits all of us, but I see a whole other deeper version of it when it comes to people who are used to being thought of as not as good.
For sure.
And they come into these organizations, whether it's around race or sexual orientation or gender or country of origin or religion, and you happen to be out of like a group that's on the out or suffers from negative stereotyping or whatever, everything has got to be so perfect. Every word you say, the way you dress, your hair, everything is so tight because you are concerned that the least thing you do wrong will feed the narrative of you as not belonging here, not earning the right to be here, not as smart, not as moral, not as capable. So while everybody is working on this issue, I see a whole deeper level. And in some ways, what I notice is when you say the shield, you can't be seen. So in fact, as a Black person coming up in the law where, I was like the first Black person ever in my law firm, I was like breaking the color barrier. I'm old, but I'm not that old. I was like,
yeah.
What? I'm the first one ever? But what I realized is that you're constantly trying to project a certain image. Like, yeah, I'm the special, okay Black person. Black men in particular are constantly dealing with, like, don't worry, I'm not going to rob you. Like that kind of thing, like constantly trying to allay people's fears. And so consequently, what happens is that you go in and you try to blend. You try to look like everybody, talk like everybody, and then you disappear. And then you disappear. And the amount of work you're doing to cover, which is a great sort of concept that Kenji Yoshino from the NYU Law School talks about and has made more popular, which is that, you feel a demand, really, from the culture to do your best impression of the people who are already there and in charge and in the majority. And as a result, you get really exhausted. You start compromising yourself. The authenticity isn't there. And it's highly difficult to be courageous, because to be courageous is to put yourself out there. To put yourself out there, people might realize that you're a woman, for goodness sake.
Yeah. No, yeah.
I grew up when lawyers, we had to wear that bow tie. We had to wear like a tie and like button-down shirts.
Yeah.
It was not pretty.
Assimilation fashion.
The assimilation fashion.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm not a woman. You don't need to worry about it. Just like you, Bob.
Nothing under here. Yeah.
Don't even like,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I think your work is so powerful for everybody. And, as a woman of color from a working class background who, is like a class straddler and all of that, I find it so powerful to take back, your humanity and to say to people, hey, I'm going to keep it high. I'm going to aim high, but I'm also okay with being a human being. with being afraid, with being courageous, with getting it right sometimes, with getting it wrong sometimes, because then I get to be present.
Amen. Yeah, I mean, yes. And I think we'd be remiss not to talk about the cost. The cost.
Tell us
Because, I mean, just to be really honest, I just did this interview with Abby Wambach for her new book. And she talks about perfectionism, and she talks about how imperfect white guys who make a shit ton of mistakes have been leading since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
Yet,
It's a few mistakes.
yeah, yet we're not allowed to be imperfect. We're not, and,
standard.
I came across this phenomenon probably 5 or 6 years into teaching. So the University of Houston, Graduate College of Social Work. So University of Houston is the most racially, ethnically diverse research university in the United States. So my class looks like the world. I mean, and looks like my kids went to public elementary school, 51 countries of origin, first generation represented. Because we have a big medical center, it's just really. But I saw this particular exhaustion in the Black women in my classroom. And I started mentoring a lot of Black women who wanted to get PhDs after their masters, but didn't think it was for them. Because they really said, well, that's like old white guys with coats, right? And I'm like, oh, no, that's me too. And so I started doing so I went to the Stacks because I was wanting to understand this phenomenon. And I came across this book called Shifting.
I know that book.
Do you know that book?
Yes. Strategies,
Yes.
Black women.
Yes, Strategies Black Women Use. And then I started reading about shifting. At the same time, I was doing my shame research, and I interviewed this young Black woman, lived in Houston, and she said, yeah, I'm trilingual. And I said, and I was like, oh my God, that's great. What do you speak? And she goes, no, just English. And I was like, what do you mean? And she goes, well, I'm a med student, so I speak one way when I'm in medical school. I speak one way with my friends, and I speak one way with my grandparents and my parents. And lest I ever forget and mess one of those up, because if I don't speak this way in medical school, they'll think I'm here on affirmative action and I don't belong here. And if I speak this way if I'm too white in front of my grandparents, that will crush them, and they will tell me very quickly, use those words with your white friends.
Yeah, who do you think you are?
Who do you think you are? And shame drives two messages, right? Shame is the vice. Shame drives two messages. It just vice both sides of us. Who do you think you are? And never good enough. And so to live in and then what I started seeing is the physical toll. If you look, and it's just not Black women, it's Black men, it's underrepresented minorities in general. It's like oppression is the best, is the most formidable foe you could ever have. Because what is it doesn't take from you while you're watching, it takes from you in ways you don't understand. That's why, when we talk about the emotional labor to pass, to shift, that shit kills people. Every day people die from that.
Yes.
Just the stress and the anxiety and remembering and the cost of doing the wrong thing in the wrong place. So I think the answer has to be twofold at least. We can't stop working on dismantling the white supremacy issues. And there is no neutral there. You are either dismantling that system or by default you are propping it up.
Because it doesn't need much.
It doesn't, no, it's not.
It doesn't need much.
It's already built.
It's already built.
It's already built. So
embedded.
yeah, so we have to every day choices, everything we do, dismantle it actively. Or if you're like, oh, I don't really talk about that kind of stuff. Okay, you're a supporter then. That's my perspective. That's my perspective. The same thing around patriarchy. You're either dismantling it or you're propping it up. So I think systemically, we have to work on those issues. But we can't lose generations of people that it could take to change those. So at the very same time, I think what companies have to do is put in place mentoring, put in place champions, put in place ways for people together to come and say, and because power and those dynamics are real. They're as real as that glass of water. And if people don't have a safe place to talk about that, the price is too high. The price is too high. And so I think high performance is great. I believe in it. I believe in obsessing on the brand. But if you don't acknowledge that there's a system in place already when people come to work here
Yes.
that absolutely privileges some
Yes.
and puts others at a huge disadvantage, you will never, ever have the diversity of a company. And for y'all, like more so than maybe a couple of companies that I work with are super global. You will never be fully successful in the long run unless the people here reflect the people you serve.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like you just won't. Like, yeah. It's just not gonna. It's just we know it. Like we know it. We know it.
I've been really trying to convince people that privilege doesn't have to be a dirty word if you know yours and use it on behalf of others to dismantle the system, right? So it's like you can't do anything about privilege because the whole idea is that it was unearned advantage created long time ago, weren't alive, you don't believe in it, but you're still benefiting from it. Each of us can find a way
Every
that we're
day,
doing
yes.
every day. So let's not go into the shame game.
Oh, but that's
Because that's like an activity.
that is it. That
The
is it.
guilt
That
and
is
shame game, and you're like, well,
That's
you're
an
not
activity.
helping me with that, though. That's not helping. That's not moving things along, okay?
No.
And so I'm really trying to get people to just get more, I guess, vulnerable, so that they're not trying to push off this reality, but they're on some level embracing it and then figuring out how to use it. And then the other thing that you said, which is that you've got to create these kinds of systems and opportunities and relationships that tries to offset some reality of what exists here. And what I think about is if we want people to take risks, right? If we want people to bring their full self, if we want people to be vulnerable, we've got to create the kind of environment that suggests that they can survive that
Yes.
risk.
a culture
A culture.
where armor is neither required
Yes.
nor rewarded.
Yes. Yes.
And every individual leader is responsible for that.
And I would go as far to say, and all of us are leaders.
Oh, yeah.
Because all of us have some sphere of influence,
Everybody.
some little tiny world or large world that we are in charge of affecting. And I really have been talking a lot to people about, like, what kind of environment are you creating? Like, even with your words, like you said, we're all over the world now. And like, even when you call a meeting, what time is it? Even when you ask for input from the people on VC, how long do you wait to hear from? It's like, and we had some colleagues from another country, and they're like, we're with you on the VC, you're talking, we're with you. Then someone makes a joke. We don't understand the joke. We know it's a joke.
Yeah.
But then the conversation starts going really, really fast, and then we are way out now. We have no idea what's happening. And something as small as that, of saying maybe I should slow down, or maybe I should think about my jokes, or maybe my jokes aren't as funny as they used to be, given the fact that we have different people here at this table. Or, so all of the vocabulary, the language, the patience, the seeking of information. But this is something that I think is also really important for this work of creating inclusion, which is the courage to be destabilized by new information.
Yeah, what a gift.
It is a gift.
Destabilization is such a gift.
It is a gift.
Because I think the opposite of destabilization is not stabilization. I think it's impermeable boundaries and atrophy. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're not destabilized, you're not freaking paying attention today. It's like, we need to be, it's so interesting because one of the forms of armor that I wear sometimes when I'm scared is the knower. Like, do I need to be the knower? Like,
Yes.
do I need to be the knower here? And the opposite of armor is curiosity. Mm-hmm. you just have to stay curious. And like
gotta stay curious.
that example that you gave about the conference call, I was working in a company about a year ago, and a guy came up to me and said, I really get so frustrated every time we have a conference call with our colleagues in Hong Kong because we know they have great ideas because 9 times out of 10 we'll end up implementing against their ideas, not ours, but they don't share them on the phone with us. And I don't know what's happening. I was like, well, what did they say is happening when you asked?
Oh,
Well,
I didn't ask.
I don't want to ask because there could be some cultural stuff going on there.
No, God forbid.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, there could be some, there's probably
Yeah,
some
see?
cultural shit
Yeah,
going on there, yeah. And so he's like, so how do you
Because
frame?
he doesn't want to be wrong. He doesn't want to
be
know,
wrong.
not know.
And he doesn't he's like, okay, Hong Kong colleagues, journal, where's the workbook? Or, like, where's the guide to the in Hong Kong, we, start the call at 5 and then start with a hello, not a hello. Like, there's no book, ask. And he's
Ask.
like, and he said literally, can you tell me what to say? And I said, I can because I'm afraid for your colleagues right now. So I'll just say, I will help you in this instance. I'll just say, hey, I noticed that y'all are not contributing a lot during the calls. What does support look like? Your ideas really matter. And he was like, okay.
Oh, I could do that.
So he reached out and said, reading from it. And he said, you would not believe what happened. And I said, tell me. And he said, apparently when we send the agenda 20 minutes before the call starts, they think that's really disrespectful. And they think that we must not want their opinion if we've only given them 20 minutes to come up with, thoughts about the agenda.
That's probably in English and not in whatever they're accustomed to.
Right, and I was like, so what do they say? They said, if you could just send the agenda 5 to 7 hours in advance, that feels more respectful to us because then we can bring our thoughts together. We, unlike y'all, are not one to share thoughts that are not formulated.
Yeah, unlike y'all, right? Yeah, well, we just, right.
Introverts and the people in Hong Kong are my people.
I know, like our Japanese colleagues are like, and then you guys, you repeat things and you say the things that people have already said. We don't understand that, right? And you're like, oh yeah, we do.
I'm important. Let me just repeat what you said. Slower.
And maybe I'll
like
even
this.
say it better.
Yeah.
And give myself credit and not to the one who initially said it. But I guess I wanted to end also with your thought about something that I have been recognizing in my own life and in the lives of my colleagues, which is that in order to get better at creating these kinds of environments where people can feel respected and connected and belonging, it's like a contact sport.
Full on.
Right? You got to get close to people.
Yes.
You got to have proximity, as D-Ray might say, and a bunch of other folks who have helped us pay attention to that. And we work so hard. We're just like in these little worlds, and this is our world, and we're not going outside that much. Some of us are outside, okay? And some of us have families that are very different and diverse, whatever. But it seems that people want to play it safe. And they just, they want to read a script that you could give them. They want to read a book, but they don't want to get close. And so, because of course that could show vulnerability.
Uncomfortable. Yeah.
What do we do in that situation? What do you recommend?
I'm at such a bad place where I'm like my first response is usually, well, this is not going to work out then. Okay. Where's my quote? Didn't I put my quote?
Yes.
Let me read this quote, but I wanted to make sure I got the person's name that said it because she was amazing and has broken so many barriers. Rosalind Hudnall. I was tweeting with her the other day, and she's retired now, but she was a CEO and has led D&I before D&I was a thing. And she said, if you're not leading a diverse life, you cannot lead a diverse team or a diverse organization. And so like for a lot of people, like a lot of white folks are like, what does that mean? Everybody, like trade out my kids or what do I do? And it's like, but this is where I think Netflix is actually super powerful. It's consume film, books, do things outside of your world where everything's produced and made by people that look like you and believe like you, and go to other people, not just bring them into where it's safe and known for you.
Yes.
Like, explore, invite. No, and this is not just for white folks. This is for all of us, especially for Netflix, where you're global. Like, this is like, understand. And that's not a chore. That's like a gift.
Yep.
You know, and I think
It's powerful.
It's powerful. And I think if you don't want to get close, you don't want to lean in, you don't want to learn, you don't want to explore, the question I would ask first is, what are you afraid of? And the second one is, I'm not sure this is a good fit for you. Because I mean, here, at least here, I would say, in order to be successful because of your medium and what you give to the world, you're going to have to look like the world you serve. Otherwise, what you do will not resonate. We will not be able to see our stories in the eyes of the people that you put on the service. Does that make sense? Yeah.
You are
Yeah.
amazing. Thank you.
You're
Thank
amazing.
you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We Are Netflix is hosted by Lyle Troxell. He's a senior software engineer at Netflix. You can keep up with We Are Netflix on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. To learn more about careers at Netflix, go to jobs.netflix.com.